question, I guess. How is this going to land in Iran? This idea from both the American president and the Israeli prime minister that this is us coming to help you.
Well, the fact that this is landing as a war. We just received reports now from Minab in Iran, where 24 students were killed in an attack on a primary school. So it's clear that bombs are falling also on the heads of Iranian people, destroying cities and areas in the country. So it's not only limited to military targets, it's not only limited to establishment or security targets. So even those who might be anticipating an intervention that could help to topple the establishment or the system in Iran are going to be probably victims of this war.
And is there appetite for that in Iran right now? The American president spoke extensively at the beginning of the year when the protests were going on, saying help is on the way. We're going to help you. We know that didn't materialize in the way that maybe some people had expected. Is it too late for people, or is there still a subsect of people in Iran that have been waiting for this moment?
No. I mean, the issue right now is that there is a war. Mm-hmm. So this is the main issue, mm-hmm. regardless of what are the objectives or what are what's the mandate President Trump is claiming in Iran. But the fact is that this war right now is changing the whole Middle East, and actually we are seeing that the first retaliation from Iran was, aside from hitting Israel, was also launching missiles towards around 5 or 6 countries in the region. So this is just getting out of Iran and spilling over quickly without even any kind of intervals. It's becoming very intertwined with the region, and we don't know how the region actually is going to retaliate or how it's going to react to the Iranian launches. So we are in a situation where we are just watching and we are trying to grasp how things are unraveling.
And it's certainly different to how it was unraveling last June when Absolutely. It seemed to be a bit of a shootout between Israel and Iran. And now it seems that Iran maybe took the take that perhaps, no, we're just going to get everybody involved right away and then see where this goes.
Well, the Iranians said this, that they were warning. They were negotiating with the Americans and warning at the same time that any attack is going to be faced with a similar what we are witnessing right now, a similar retaliation to the one we are witnessing right now. So there are no more red lines. Red lines are gone. Mm-hmm. Besides, we are still also waiting to see whether allies of Iran in the region, because in Iraq, we just heard from Kataib Hezbollah that they are preparing to get into the battle. Right. The Houthis also are there. We don't know what's going to be Hezbollah's position in Lebanon, but the fact is that Iran is activating all its arms, it's activating all its powers, and its multi-layered elements, whereas it's trying to make the price very high, not only on Israel or on the United States, but also on the allies of the United States.
Ali Hashim, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Now, the attacks on Iran come after weeks of U.S. military buildup in the region. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has been deployed. It left its naval base in Crete on Thursday. The Ford's 2 nuclear reactor powers advanced aircraft launch systems, allowing it to operate up to 220 missions per day. It joins the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. That carrier operates up to 70 aircraft, including FA-18 fighter jets and surveillance planes. Its nuclear propulsion system also allows for long-term deployment. Now, they are being escorted by guided missile cruisers and destroyers, giving them air defense, strike, and anti-submarine capabilities. Andreas Krieg is an associate professor at the School of Security Studies in King's College in London, and he joins us now live from London. One thing that is missing here, Andreas, if the U.S. is preparing for a prolonged military conflict in this region, is there are no ground troops to be seen so far. How does that play into how this is going to unfold?
This is the ultimate weakness and vulnerability of this entire U.S. strategy. If indeed we are going down a path of regime change, as Trump suggests in his speech this morning, then there is this key element missing. So the Israelis think that they can mobilize a very alienated, aggrieved Iranian population to take action against their own regime. I don't see any way that can actually happen because there isn't a coherent, consolidated opposition. There aren't any arms or weapons that are being distributed at a large scale. So basically, this is a remote standoff, air power-led campaign that can maybe lead to degradation, but actually without seizing ground and holding it, there is no way the regime is just going to collapse and disappear. And so this is kind of where the Americans will run out of steam once target lists have been exhausted, which can likely become in a few days.
And there is something difficult about an operation that is solely focused on regime change also. There is a lot of moving parts here now, as you mentioned there and alluded to, that inside Iran, the U.S. and Israel have no control over. So how do you ensure that those go according to plan now?
All the courses of action that have been presented to the president, to Trump over the last couple of weeks were imperfect, suboptimal. The reason that we had nearly a month of hesitation of striking or not striking had to do with the fact that the Joint Chiefs of Staff made it quite clear to the US president that there isn't an easy way in, easy way out, and at the same time feasible, successful, and sustainable course of action on the table. And that's kind of part of the problem. What is the strategy of this campaign? And if the strategy is regime change, how can it actually be implemented? I mean, if we look at the different targets that have been struck now, it seems that the Americans focusing mainly on missile and missile production, which is one of the issues that are not on the negotiation table. So should there be any off-ramp in the coming weeks to return to the negotiation table, the Americans could then say, we can negotiate a nuclear deal because we've destroyed the ballistic missile program. But the Israelis at the same time are pushing a very much wider campaign, which I think is completely fantasy land of saying, trying to change the regime. We call all the Iranians to step up and take action and replace this regime. That's unlikely going to happen. And so this is in many ways a very, very flawed war based on flawed assumptions and a flawed strategy.
But if one of the goals, as you say, is to potentially force Iran back to the table on a number of other issues, how likely could that possibly be now, given that this is now the second time that Iran has been negotiating with the U.S. and in the middle of those negotiations has been hit with strikes?
It's very, very low, the probability right now. There's no way that Iran is just going to come around. And I think the president has to understand this, and it must have been made clear by the Omani foreign minister visiting Washington yesterday. The Qataris have been obviously in constant close conversation with the Americans, made it very clear there is no way that once you escalate, you can just turn the key as you did in June last year, to just create an off-ramp diplomatically. And so it must be very clear to the president that the Iranians are not just going to return without actually getting something significant, immediate. And I think the regime now has already preparing since probably beginning of the year, preparing and dug in for a protracted conflict. And ultimately time, I think, plays on the side of the regime, while it will be very difficult for the US to sustain this campaign for weeks and weeks on end, considering that they only have 2 carrier strike groups and then basically have to use Israel as the forward operating base because the airspaces and air bases in the Gulf are basically off limits for the US Air Force. So it's not an easy campaign to endure and sustain.
In your estimation, how would Iran have been using that time, as you mentioned, if they have been looking at this since the beginning of the year and thinking that these strikes were imminent? What do you do with that time?
So the Iranian regime is not a hierarchical regime where decapitation is even on the table. So if you were the supreme leader or even the line of succession, which is, I think, what the Israelis are trying at the moment, trying to take out operational and strategic commanders across the IRGC, theocratic leaders, political leaders, it doesn't mean that the regime is just going to collapse in. The fact is, what we've seen since January is that we have a complete decentralization of the chain of command and control. And so we see that despite this heavy attack this morning, there is no paralysis in Iran. Iran is sustaining it. We're very quick to actually fight back, to strike back across the Gulf, escalating, and the operational tempo is there. And that shows also that C2, command and control, has been completely delegated to the local level. And we also see that the Basij, for example, which is the major component of the IRGC that controls the public on the ground, basically they organize, they have been on alert for quite some time, and they organize themselves on the local level without having to rely constantly onto the major chain of command in Tehran. And so that, again, we have to think about the Iranian regime as an organization, a system that looks a lot more like an insurgency group, and thereby being able to sustain pressure than it looks like a normal hierarchical state.
Andreas Krieg, we appreciate you joining us from London on this breaking news. Iran's Supreme National Security Council has just issued a statement. It reads, according to the information obtained from these two corrupt regimes, their operations will continue in Tehran and some other cities. The government has already prepared all the needs of society, and there is no concern about the supply of public necessities. Schools and universities will be closed until further notice. Banks will continue to serve the dear nation of Iran. Government offices will operate at 50% capacity for the time being. Hassan Ahmadian is an associate professor at the University of Tehran, and he joins us now live from the Iranian capital. Thank you for being with us. Is de-escalation an option now for Iran?
Well, it's everything is about escalation at this point. Of course, de-escalation would be at the table moving forward, but I think with the country falling yet again subject to aggression, the country will retaliate, and it has been retaliating. And I think the retaliation has been unprecedented. The intention for that is to basically push back against the United States and its calculations that Iran's readiness and capabilities to retaliate are limited. Iranians are showing in their retaliation, which is geographically very much spread around the region, and in many cases in Israel and in the bases, they're showing that it is very precise. They're trying to show that this can be very costly to the United States, hoping that this will create the balance that then will lead to de-escalation.
I mean, it could be very costly for the United States, but it could also be very costly to Iran, especially because Iran says that it will continue operations relentlessly until the enemy is decisively defeated. Does Iran have the stockpiles and the willpower of the people to do that?
You're right in that Iran will endure costs maybe more than what the United States will and what Israel will. But options are limited. Iran is subject to aggression, so it has to retaliate. Otherwise, you will see another Gaza unfold in Iran if Iran doesn't have the might. So it has to retaliate, though enduring much more pain maybe moving forward. But I think the Iranians are trying to showcase that it's not going to be June all over again. It's going to be a different scene in which the Iranian retaliation is wider, bigger, mightier, and that the United States, that was not dealt with decisively back in June when it attacked in the midnight hammer Iran's nuclear facilities. This time around, the Iranians will hit it hard where it hurts. Now, of course, sustainability is a matter, but I think because the bases and what the Iranians are using around their country are basically not far away from Iran borders, I think the Iranians have immense ammunition. As I said earlier, that the Israeli and American assessments is that the Iranians have like 3,000 long-range missiles that can hit Israel. But medium-range missiles that can hit the U.S. bases around the country are in the tens of thousands. So it can sustain very much for a lengthy period a conflict with the United States. We don't know to what extent the United States can sustain a campaign based on 2 aircraft carriers and bases that are being hit around the clock moving forward.
Right. But I suppose my other question to you would be, has Iran made calculations for a wider or a longer conflict given the economic situation that's happening in the country? Have the Iranian people been able to make calculations for that?
Yeah, I think the previous war has taught the Iranians a lot in terms of managing their economy. There were no shortages back in June, and I think the Iranians have a bit of a confidence in that there will not be shortages moving forward in this conflict as well. So that's why we didn't see really much panic when it comes to what the nation needs in terms of its basic needs in their daily lives. Things are normal to a large extent in the streets. Of course, the government is trying to manage, and it's under pressure by war, and of course the economic needs of the nation. But I think the past war is very much of an example for what it wants to do. I think in terms of managing the economy back in June, it was successful to a large extent, and I expect it to be so in this conflict as well.
Hassan Ahmadian, we appreciate you joining us from Tehran. Now, the strikes on Iran came despite some optimism over the progress of indirect nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. Oman's foreign minister, Bada al-Busaidi, said had been mediating those talks, and he met with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday. Speaking to U.S. media before Saturday's attack, al-Busaidi said Iran had agreed to not stockpile enriched uranium and described the development as a breakthrough. So joining us now from D.C. is Alan Iyer, a distinguished diplomatic fellow at the Middle East Institute. He's also a former senior diplomat on the U.S. negotiating team for the 2015 JCPOA Iran nuclear deal. Alan, thank you.
Content marketing is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep my content creation process running smoothly. I use ClickUp AI to
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran has consistently, throughout these negotiations, says they don't have one and they don't want one. So the casual viewer could be forgiven, perhaps, for wondering how we went from these talks just yesterday to strikes today.
Well, the talks really, despite what the Omani foreign minister had said, had not progressed. They were at a deadlock. The United States had not changed its red lines, and Iran was unwilling to accept those red lines. So I understand the Omani foreign minister trying to keep the negotiations alive, but it is not the case that we were close to some type of breakthrough or overall agreement. In terms of this attack on Iran by Iran and Israel, it is also not the case that Iran is any sort of imminent threat to the United States, despite what President Trump said. U.S. officials have been describing Iran as the weakest it's ever been for a long time. So there was no nuclear threat and there was no missile threat. It seems to be the case that what President Trump wants to do is roll the dice and hope that he can inflict enough damage so as to encourage regime change in Iran.
Well, Iran had the idea of sort of negotiating with all of this firepower in your face is not the way to get to a proper agreement. Did they have a point where these talks sort of doomed before they got off the starting blocks?
They weren't doomed before they got off the starting block, but neither side really gave negotiations any sort of chance. For the U.S. side, they would meet every couple of weeks. I mean, the first round before the June 12th war also was somewhat desultory. So was this. You have two people on the U.S. side who were negotiating Gaza, Ukraine, and Iran with no relevant expertise, even though I'm sure they're very smart in their own fields, Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner. And on the Iranian side, you had this insistence on indirect talks as opposed to. So neither side, for various reasons, really put all their chips down on negotiation. And certainly Iran assumed that it was probable that the U.S. would resume aggression after last year's ceasefire after the 12th.
How difficult will it be after this? And of course, we are in very early hours, so there is a lot more to come. How difficult is this to get to any sort of negotiating position now in your country?
Forget negotiations. Those are over. That's not going to happen in any sort of time frame. Okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, what's happening now is there's going to be military action, at least for days, perhaps weeks, with Iran, with the U.S. and Israel hoping that they decapitate enough Iranian leadership, destroy enough regime infrastructure and institutions so that when they cease bombing, the Iranian people rise up and commit regime change, or, and this would satisfy Israel, the regime is a near failed state. Iran, for its part, is going to try to inflict enough damage to the U.S. and its allies so that the U.S. stops its military aggression. That's what's happening now.
from the U.S. perspective,
Mhm.
that seems like a lot of ifs. Now that the strikes have been launched, it's, if they've managed to get rid of any senior authorities in the Iranian government, if the people decide to rise up, if, how do we have any idea what goes on from here?
Well, no, you're exactly right. It's a long shot, and according to leaks from in the U.S. press, many of President Trump's military advisors were telling him the same thing, that there's no clear line from essentially a protracted, intense air campaign, because we're not going to put boots on the ground, to a regime change. So, yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem probable, but President Trump before has been willing to roll the dice on military action for a variety of reasons. And despite the fact that this is a unilateral action that contravenes international law, and he's given no realistic justification for doing it, this is what he wants to do.
Alan Iyer, thank you for your insight for us from Washington, D.C. We appreciate it. Let's bring Ali Hashem back in now. Now, you heard what Alan was saying there, and he's talking about just how many ifs and uncontrollables there are now that we're in the midst of this. If you could, walk us through how the Iranian government works and functions, because people have, it'll be a limited Venezuela. Venezuela's government is organized and functions very differently than the government in Iran does.
Absolutely. In Iran, there is a system built, a very intertwined and complicated web of councils and.
I want to stop sharing,
Greetings.
You there?
Yes, I will go on.
There, man.
Yeah, man. For
Well,
real.
well,
Thanks
come
a lot.
forward,
Mhm.
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, I was on the move. I was on the move, yeah. I was in Trinidad.
Give
Remember
thanks.
myself? Yeah, yeah.
So we can get then internet at Trinidad.
Nah, the internet this time was very, very bad in Trinidad. As a matter of fact, I couldn't call nobody in Trinidad on my phone. No, I could receive a call, can't call out. Real bad.
You went
real
dark,
bad.
Bingy. You went dark.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But the service was really, really bad. No calls out. You could only receive a call. And that was my thing right through down there. And I never get it. I was supposed to go buy a phone. That never happened. I was like, I ain't buying no phone. I ain't doing that. I have a phone. My service supposed to work.
Oh, it
anywhere
was
I
your
go.
phone. Okay, it was your phone that bring down there, but they're not working. Okay.
Yeah. It's working internationally, right? You put it on road, you have an international plan. When you reach, it switch. Bam, you do your thing.
But Yaga, I'm surprised you have internet, Yaga.
What do you mean?
Wait, what going on?
Bama fly all over the place, man.
A 5D,
Eh?
A 5D, man.
Where's it on a 5G or 5D?
Yeah, man. The fire turn up.
But this is ridiculous, bro. Like the other day, you attack Venezuela, now you reinitialize the attack on Iran, and it's like there's no end to this power grab. There's no end to this desire for really have this kind of dominance, this world dominance. Like when in the 40s, when they really start to really make the power grab there towards economic, international economic control, and it never worked. People never really aware of everything so clearly. But now everybody aware of everything clearly, bro. So like, why don't I feel like say it's still necessary for one to do that? It's like, to me, it's like a drowning man catching at straws right now. This whole thing I mean, I look upon and see, brother. Because you see the thing is like a drowning situation, and I'm just try grab at whatever them think them can grab at for really hold that position. You see me?
The big question is, how does this affect Africa and Africans? because there so our, you know what I mean, our loyalty, this our concern is, how does this affect Africa? I think it affect African people around the world, or you know what I mean, the continent itself.
But for the most part, if I'm looking at Africa today, Africa is not in control of any of our resources. So whatever the rest of the world decide happens with Africa and her resources is same as what's going to happen when this regime decide what's going to happen with other people's resources, i.e. Iran today. I think all goes on as before. It's just now is, hey, we have let the adolescent be roam wild for too long. We never kept the adolescent in check. So this is what you see. This is what we see. This is what we get when we don't have proper checks and balances in place. This has to happen. I don't know how it affects African people more than African people being affected already. Meaning Africans right now really don't have control of their own resources. I don't know how it really affects them.
If you look at this operation, you know what I mean, of everything that is going on and leading up to this, you can see that this American regime, American government, is targeting the BRICS nation. So all allies to the BRICS, they target them one by one and taking them out one by one, right? And it's at Iran now. But, and I mean, as Pan-Africanists, we are looking at how it affects Africa. We know that you have Ethiopia and South Africa, who's a part of the BRICS. And we also see tensions in South Africa, and while we also see tensions in South Africa.
But you have two main components who are also BRICS. You have Brazil, you have India. And right now, India is siding with Israel in a lot of her policies. As a matter of fact, signing an $8 billion deal this week. So even within BRICS now, right, you have major countries in BRICS, i.e. India, supporting Israel, you realize that India does 25% of their trade with Israel so that's huge.
Yeah, but that's geopolitics at work still, because you know it's because of the Pakistan and Iran link, or you know, coordination.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so because of that, you know, Israel go against Iran because of the link to Pakistan. So I get that, but we can see the move with America is really against the BRICS, and
it's world dominance.
I want to focus on African countries who are in the BRICS. So are we going to see the same thing that is happening to these countries who, you know what I mean, don't see eye to eye with America and their policies? Right? Are we going to see the same thing in Africa? Are we going to see the same thing in South Africa? Are we going to see the same thing in Ethiopia? Because this could easily happen in Ethiopia, you know, who's on the brink, you know. Ethiopia is on the brink with I don't know if you had hear about the build up of troops in Tigray region. Yeah.
But the conflict been boiling for a long time still.
Yeah, but I'm saying, remember, you know, all these people operate, you know. They boost up rebels to fight against the government, you know, when they want to take them out, you know. Right? Tigray is the poorest region in Ethiopia, you know, but still yet they have like the biggest army to oppose the government army. Right? So somebody is helping them.
Facilitating.
Yeah. Someone is helping them.
But destabilization is always facilitated by an outside force, right? That's why it's called destabilization. And that happens through the region. But this is world dominance, right? We're seeing world dominance at work. And what it means to have world dominance. That means by any means necessary using my might to do whatever I want to do. And mind you, without congressional approval too, right? So those things don't mean anything anymore too in this present administration. It means nothing.
Yes, I.
So it's,
You know, as I.
it's demonstrating signs of the very authoritarian
Yeah.
regime that they are allegedly fighting against.
Yeah.
See how ironic that is? The very authoritarian regime that you're claiming to fight against, you're exhibiting the very traits of these regimes. Because if there's a structure that in order for these things to happen, you have to get certain approvals,
But, yeah.
military intervention or military action. And you're
It's
doing that now without
approval.
then that's the definition of authoritarian.
Yeah, but
I don't think
there are no
I
rules.
don't think this regime has not anything against authoritarian regime. You know, they just have allies and non-allies, and they fight against who is against them. Because we see Rubio, the Secretary of State, saying the other day the reason why Europe is weak is because they finished with colonization. That means they are for colonization, right? And that's what they're trying to do again. They're trying to recolonize, you know what I mean, the world. Yeah.
That's what makes it authoritarian, right?
Yeah.
That very fact that they're trying to recolonize the earth. Right.
Give me a piece of fire, you know.
Go through.
But not only that, right? Could we even go back to like 2015 when they had the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action between the world and Iran based on a nuclear program, right? Iran signed this treaty with the World Organization saying, hey, we are not going to develop a nuclear weapon. And how are we going to do it? We're going to have transparency. We're going to have people coming in, inspecting our facilities. That went on for a very long time. What was wrong with that? This administration said that was a weak stance. That very treaty that Iran made, that landmark agreement, that they say was a weak point. How could that be weak when Iran say, hey, I welcome all to monitor what we're doing? You could see exactly what we do. We're not building, and they were. So how did we reach from that to this?
But they ripped it up, Bingy. They ripped up the agreement. They ripped up the agreement and said it was worthless. And Iran think its only hope of survival is to develop ballistic missile. Them drone technology is one of the best in the world, and them cannot afford to lose their sovereignty.
No.
And we have to understand this is a different kind of government from Venezuela. This is a theocratic government, a religious government, and they've said that they are not going to develop nuclear beyond the use
purposes.
Yes, of energy purpose and medical purposes.
And medical
so their word is good enough for it. And this happened in the middle of a negotiation. For a negotiation was taking place up to yesterday. Again. So now this is gonna create a big distrust because America is holding out on its red line, and Iran needs concession because it has to be able to develop itself and secure its borders and its sovereignty. And we see the breakout of what is going on, and it is causing a lot of fire in the region now because Bahrain has been attacked, UAE has been attacked, Jordan has been attacked, and Kuwait has been attacked. So I think Iran has said this, that this is what was going to happen because they will attack all facilities and American industries and bases within the region. And this is where it's at now. And we talk about African people and what does this mean for African people. We see enough Jamaicans in the region and they don't have any representation. And every country is giving advice to their citizen. But there's nothing from Jamaica yet. And if it does, we'll probably have to go to Jamaica to get it because there's no representation here. And the situation is tense at the moment, you know? So that is where it's at.
I will take for the Jamaican government because the Jamaican government is under pressure from the same regime because of statement they made against Cuba earlier in the week. So the Jamaican government is have their own issue to deal with at the moment. Maybe they are, they're under pressure. Maybe that's why.
The Jamaican people is part of that pressure, and the Jamaican people is part of that work that they've got to deal with. And the safety of the people should come first because every country is looking out for their residents and their citizens. So there's no exception, and there are people who are in the middle of this that are doing that. So they know that when they do the right thing, these are the sort of pressure that will apply, and these are the sort of pressure that you will face for doing the right. But you have to steadfast in doing the right because the people are behind you in doing the right. And I don't think the American people did agree to anything like that. As a matter of fact, they vote on no more wars and ending war to the extent where the president was claiming the peace prize even before it was awarded. Still after it's awarded, he's still going for the peace prize. So I don't know how he's expecting to get one if he's finding himself in this situation and this quagmire that might go on for days.
Yeah, we just wanna also send, as I say, this is affecting other regions, and one you mentioned was Kuwait, and we have one of our regular viewers, family members, Nals, is actually in Kuwait. So I don't know if she could drop in the comment section what the situation is like on the ground there and give us an idea how it's affecting that region, you know, as our Kuwaiti correspondent, you know.
Yes,
You see, in those situations, it's difficult to do that because if you're not quoting from the competent authority and the competent sources, you might find yourself in violation of spreading disinformation or spreading information that has not been confirmed. So we won't be expecting anything from NALS considering that they are in the region, but people just follow the advice of the closest embassy near to you. Normally the US and British give good advice to their citizens so they can follow that advice and take the necessary precaution and follow the guidelines from the local authorities on the ground.
And the friendly, you know. And here's the thing, right? This current president campaign on the fact that he wouldn't get involved in any conflicts around the world, you know. Bring back his troops, make sure America involved in none of those conflicts.
Yes, sir.
And yet we see the man on all different fronts, you know.
Yeah.
Everywhere, you know.
every continent.
Everywhere, you know. A man who campaign and not getting involved. Yeah. And your word's supposed to mean something. Right? Your word is your bond. Your word's supposed to mean something. Man have no principles.
These people are warmongers, man. They are warmongers. And they love war, and war is a business for them, and their friends make money off wars. You know what I mean? So war has to go on for them. And we know what happened. Their friends are rich, and the people that suffer the most from wars are poor people. You know what I mean? So it's another fight against poor people. You know what I mean? And if you notice, when they are attacking countries, they don't attack rich countries, neither. They don't attack powerful countries. They try to find the weakest link to attack, right? Because, you know what I mean? There's a fight against poor people. There's a fight against the have-nots. You understand?
The weak fence them a look for, and that's why we call for the sovereignty and security of the people and food in the African countries. And Africa is one of the richest continents in the world with a very young population and mineral wealth. And we are saying to the leaders of Africa, it is high time now you serve the interests of African people so that Africans in African and abroad can live in safety and live in peace on the continent and wherever they are. And they have to do this and look out for the interests of the people, because it's been going for too long now where they are serving the interests of other people and themselves. You know, big up to the Sahel region, big up Burkina Faso and the people in Burkina Faso, big up the people in Niger and Mali who are set it and are show how it is supposed to be done. So the black print is there.
I know most of the things we talk about, you know, most of the things we talk about that Africa need to rise to its full potential is things that is against this American regime or the European regime, you know. So if Africa start moving that direction, or African countries start moving that direction to uplift themselves, it is possible that you're going to face the same kind of attacks. So one thing what Africa has to do is build up their military might, they to protect themselves. And this one of the things is uniting, the unity, you know what I mean? Because one of the biggest things where they can attack even Iran now, you know, is the disunity in the area, you know. You know what I mean? Every country, I'm talking
isolated. Everybody isolated and everybody have their own strategic interest, even though them work together on things with them say eye to eye. That don't have nothing to deal with it, you know. But if you cross a red line, you know, say, we have a city defense, and you have to have a strong defense.
Imagine if the Muslim world was united. Imagine if the Muslim world was united. You know what I mean? This wouldn't happen.
The Arab world is united.
The Arab world?
Yeah, man.
No. Are they?
Well,
yeah, man, them have them Arab League, man, and them different organizations which...
If Arab countries can get, well, Iran is not an Arab country, but if an Arab country can get attacked, and there is no help, there is no, you know what I mean, maybe the statement. What kind of unity is that?
I mean, we need to make it clear that it's not the country that is under attack. It is the facilities of the US that is under attack, and US interests.
Nah, man.
That is under
no,
attack.
I'm talking before. I'm not talking Iran is attacking them, man. I'm talking like before. But all right, look at like a country like Yemen, Yemen. Split in two, you know what I mean? Arab country. Then
again, we know that a lot of these things are actually by design, and
I don't think they're not united. Things are all aligned.
The very people who are at the root of all of this chaos at the moment are some of the very people who laid the foundations for these divisions and these separation and isolations of these people within this region. Now, the thing that really strikes me is that when you see such a clear call for the people of the country to rise up and topple the leadership. So predominantly in history, historically, we would see they do this in a covert way. Like there's no there's no real substantiated way that you can say, oh, these are the people that's doing this. If you understand geopolitics and you understand the power moves, you will see and know that, okay, yeah, these are the people behind it. But you don't generally see them come out and saying, oh, we're doing this and this is why we're doing it, because we want the people to come out and do this regime change. They're calling it regime change, right? So I'm saying, like, so if your position is if a regime is managing a nation in a way that you think that isn't right, and you can just go and launch an attack on them with the intention that the people will rise up, as you would say then, and take power from this regime. So that should be fear then to say that if another nation thinks that your regime isn't operating in the way that they see fit, it is okay for them to launch an attack on you and call for your people to rise up and change your regime. So that is like it's setting a dangerous precedence to me, because now it's almost as if anytime you feel like you want to change a regime in a nation, you can just start a conflict and urge the people to rise up to carry out that action.
But
But this
Ras,
is not new.
I want to
It's not
see.
new.
No, we know
Yeah,
it's not new. But I'm
It's the
saying
same thing they do it every time.
Right, but I'm saying it's the first you see them actually admitting that this is what. Generally they don't. Generally it's something that's covert.
No man, them always call the people them of the country to rise up. They always
It's always part of it.
in Libya they do the same thing. They say
It's
the
always
people rise
part
up.
of it.
And this is all they do in a dada. They tell the people to rise up, arm the so-called people who are against them, arm them with arms, and then they go in to help those people who are fighting against the regime. That's what they normally do.
But this is
That's
what
the
I'm
build-up.
saying, that it's done on a covert level. Right? Like for example, we can use Jamaica's history as an example, right? In the 80s with their political turmoil, right? Like everyone knew that they had a role in it, but no one could point a finger to say, yes, to hear they're admitting it or they're doing this to acknowledge their role in this. But now we see, I think it was like probably 2 or 3 years ago, where they declassified certain of these sensitive
documents
from their thing and them strategy, where they actually have now acknowledged their role in this activity. So that's the point I'm making, that yes, they do these things, but I'm saying that for them to just come out big and bold, you don't generally see them doing that.
Ras,
Yes, your man, them do it all the time, man.
Yeah.
Them do it all the time, man.
Yeah, they do it all the time, man.
Even in Jamaica, in the 80s, it was very evident, on a pretense, they always say,
it was evident, but it was not acknowledged because it was
covert. Yeah, in Jamaica, right? Remember, you could feel it, you could, because food wasn't coming from the US. That's why you had a food shortage.
Right.
So
they don't need more than that. They have a food shortage.
That's what I'm saying. If you understand geopolitics, you know their involvement.
Right.
But I'm saying
right.
openly and say.
Yeah, but even the openly part they do it all the time. They openly tell the people to rise up and change the government. In Cuba,
they always have to do that, though. They always have to.
So democracy is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They bring in democracy.
Huh?
They bring in democracy.
But the point I'm trying to make still is that now, whereas people used to use cloak and dagger
for
their involvement in other people's affairs, Now it's as if they don't even care about the cloak and dagger thing now. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this, so what? That's the point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but America is there in the rest of the world, you know. Is world dominant. America already say that they're the strongest country on this planet. So with that statement alone, they want to show dominance. They dare anybody right now. And think about it. We always talk about China, for example. America had 3 times the stockpile of nuclear weapons to China, you know. China is relatively young on its stockpile of even nuclear weapons. So they daring the rest of the world. That's what they're doing. They're gonna show their might. And if we don't realize what's going on and figure out how to stop it, this right here, we're gonna see a permanent change. You know, you see the elections, what we call midterm right now. Midterms on the attack right now. Right now, midterms on the attack.
This is happening in the broader picture.
Big issue.
But
is happening in the broader picture of the PDF files. So when you see these things going on, there is always something that is going on that they are trying to hide and bury. And we know the PDF files are causing a problem across the world at this time. But Iran and its strategic location fits right into the jigsaw of what America is trying to achieve, or what they perceive to be the link between Russia and the link between China. So they are trying to break that band, and if they break that band and they can have access to Iran, then you will see a different Middle East. But this is not going to be easy, because Iran government has got different layers to it, and each department or each area operate under its own umbrella. But as a unit to protect the sovereignty of the country, they work together. But there's a lot they will have to break for this to happen, and we don't know where this is gonna end up and how long this is gonna last for, and it's really scary.
It's funny to me that this alleged action is based on the right of the Iranian people to have nuclear weapons, right? Nuclear weapons, right? My concern is this: for a nation that has been involved in...
But they're not even developing nuclear weapons.
No, we agree, but we're saying this is what they're saying. They're saying this action is...
Right, there's a pretext.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
No,
but then this one clipped a few months ago. They said they wipe out everything.
This war is not based on that, you know. This war is based on the ability to create those weapons, long-range missiles.
Right.
Because the negotiation is going on, but the sticking point is where them can't go over is Iran said they have to still have the ability to create long-range missiles.
But
Iran agree long before, years before, said, and they never agree said they want to create nuclear weapons. Iran never was going to create nuclear weapons, but they want the ability to create missiles. And America and Israel, because we can't let out Israel, we've been letting them out. Say they're not supposed to be creating. They don't want to be creating missiles.
So what I'm saying is, the point I'm gonna make is that for a country that has been involved in so many conflicts globally and historically, to have the right to have nuclear, long range, you name the type of weaponry or artillery, they have it. But yet still, they have been involved in so many conflicts globally and historically, but they have the right to. But then Iran, who we don't see going around and getting in a no war or no conflict.
The hypocrisy of it all.
Iran was never attack another country.
Cannot have the right to do these things. So again, it's an attack on sovereignty. It's an attack on freedom, even though they claim to be the champions of freedom. So, and again, I see that's where the point of hypocrisy arises, where we say this is blatant hypocrisy.
But all the while, though, Ras, is nothing new. That's the problem. It's nothing new. We just have a point in history right now where America is going to dictate what they want to the rest of the world, and it's going to be based on resources. They're going to take resources as well, right? So under the pretense of nuclear weapon development, enriched uranium, long-range missiles, by the way, whatever it is,
they're gonna find
you
a
have
reason.
something
They're
we
gonna
want.
find a reason.
Yeah, they're gonna find a reason.
Oh, your cell phone coverage is too good. Your internet service
Yeah.
is
Some
good.
reason they're gonna come in with
Yes,
your
man.
technology too good. We coming in,
this
we
can't
taking
work.
it.
No.
Yeah. That's what world dominance is, Roots.
Wow.
Unfortunately for the rest of the world. And here's the problem, right? We always talk about Africa. How does Africa now be able to develop weaponry, defense systems to fight against something like this?
They're not going to be able to. Under these current conditions,
yeah,
they're
how
not
and
going to be
when?
able to.
And without protection, you have no say, brother.
You're doomed.
You're doomed. Without protection, you're doomed.
The US, because I don't think US is saying that you're not supposed to have weapons, but you're not supposed to develop weapons because they want to be the only one supplying weapons. Because they are willing to supply anybody weapons.
But you're going to be limited in your,
of course, you're going to be limited.
Retaliation.
But limited to your resources. Because when you have money, you can buy the people them who have money buy any weapon they want from them. And do you know that they sell the weapons according to how rich the country is?
Yeah.
So like I said,
but there are limitations on weapons that they do sell to Roots.
Yes,
they sell it. So
that's why they don't want.
Yeah, they control.
That's why they don't want it to develop.
Yeah,
right.
they control.
So they can sell you the weapon that cannot hurt them.
They want to know your arsenal.
Yeah.
Right. No pun intended. They want to know your arsenal. No pun intended.
They know what you have.
No offense given, none taken.
No
they
defense.
Want to know your arsenal, so they know if they're coming up against you, they know, oh, you only have this capability and this capacity. So they know how to strategically plan.
And if they are selling you weapons, that weapon need repairs. So if you go against them, they just don't give you the repairs and the weapons, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, your challenge crumble.
Crumble.
Right.
Yo, it's sad, man. It's sad when we see that in a world where there's such and I think that in the past decade or so, we've seen a increase in the call for freedom and what it means to be free, right? And yet still at the same time we see regimes of this doing things like this, and it's surprising, but still not surprising, because we see this as well historically with even apartheid, when the whole world came out to say they want to crush apartheid, and people were in support of it same way in terms of regimes and stuff, but the people were calling for the end of it. You understand, in terms of solidarity and stuff like that. And we see people calling for it currently, but we still see the support from regimes to maintain this thing. Like we talk about the Rubio statement, and we talk about Netanyahu's statement, which we just saw in the coverage and stuff like that. So it's sad, but people do not lose hope, do not lose heart, and stand on the principles of what is correct and what is right, and for a just cause, David will still slew Goliath,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So what the people them know? So we are reason about the US Israeli strike on Iran and the subsequent retaliation. We see a blatant violation of enough sovereignty within the region, and the place is on fire at the moment, you know. So remember to like and share the reasoning, share the trad class with your friends, because you know we're there on the front line, on the battlefield, a fight for African liberation. It's just Africans need to realize that and them have to liberate themselves, you know?
Yes,
Yeah, man. Give thanks for life.
Another senseless war, man. Another senseless war in the world, you know what I mean? And as I said earlier,
senseless to the sensible.
another senseless war, senseless to everybody, man. Them know say foolishness.
In a sense, that's to the people who are benefit to them. To the people who are benefit to them, it makes sense.
It's not senseless.
To the people who are benefit from it, it makes sense.
Yeah, but those are
Makes
the
sense,
minority.
or make money.
We are talking for the majority.
Yes, they
We
make
are talking for the
dollars
people
and
then we are suffer. We not speak
Make
for them
cash.
people there. You know what I mean? So when we speak, anything we speak are for the people then we are suffer. You know what I mean? Because of these wars. You know what I mean? That's why our voice is far. So when we speak, we're not speaking for the people who are doing the damage. You know what I mean? So another senseless war again. We not stop saying it. We say it over and over, so it resonates. When these wars go on, is poor people, is they have not. Those are the people that suffer. You know what I mean? These people don't care about the poor people. They don't care about poor countries. You know what I mean? They try to rape poor countries. They try to steal from poor countries to make themselves look better. And it's not even like their country better. It's the rich people in their country trying to make them richer. So it's greed.
Always.
Greed. That's the top line of it, you know. Greed. Making their friends and their family richer. Yes,
But here's the thing, right? This is just on a bigger scale, right? Like the ICE is poor people who always suffer. Even in countries that are governed by your own governments, for example, people suffer under them, right? The poor always suffer. This is just a bigger state of suffering, literally, right? Because you could go to every country around the world and you find the poor, for example, right? Always. They are always the sufferers. That's the designation.
Yeah, man.
It's a hierarchy. Yeah, that's the system.
Yeah, man. Based off our system, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we want to just send out our thoughts, love, and best wishes to those people, our family who are in these areas, i.e. the Kuwaits, i.e. the UAEs, you know, and hope that they don't get any direct impact on these strikes, and hope that they're safe and their family and loved ones are safe, you know. So we just wanted to let that be known that that is what we're speaking into existence for the item who are a part of our family in those regions, you know?
Yeah, man. So
when we look at this,
go on, Yaga.
When we look at this in the grand scheme of things, and we see a lot of blocks being formed and a lot of trades being taking place between China. Even the Europeans are going to China, and they used to belittle other countries for going to China. Everybody I go to China and I make deal with China. And we see China is a part of the BRICS countries, India, Russia, and we see a lot of alliances with African countries being formed with Russia and China, where they're not only putting their egg in one basket anymore, but they are trying to get some of the best deals, but it is not happening fast enough. They need to be firm at the negotiating table and make sure that the deals and the terms that they're agreeing to are favorable to the people on the continent and benefit the people and the development of the country. What are them view of that whole situation and the bloc that is arising and the alliances that we see forming around the sun?
Well, you know, first thing I'm gonna like to talk about is as you talk about China, but I like to really highlight a thing with China as well. Saying China strategically put themselves in a position economically where it's almost like you can't go around them, right? You can't go around them. Now we see the regime, their initial action was against China, you know, with the implementation of the tariffs, you know. It wasn't a military strike, you know, but it was a strategic tactical strike, right? Them try off of China with the tariffs. And China said, okay, you want to try for me with the tariffs? So I'm going to show you, say, our thing not just normal, you know. So we just say, all right, we lock this apart and we work over here, so now. We'll not even look on your side. And just by doing something as simple as that, them have to take this back and reanalyze them position and say, all right, we're going to change that, because look at that now going to work. We don't know who did come up with that to think it could have worked. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that it shows us how important strategy and planning, forward thinking is, because if these nations that are currently under military attack, and I think what Yaga always says is that it's not surprise, it's not by surprise. Them know this was coming. So where is the planning that was accompanying this knowledge that, listen, there's a imminent strike coming? Where is the planning? And then now that it has happened, the implementation of same plan.
Yeah, but Yaga, and that is the same thing, you know. Because of the success of China and the way China operate, and they weren't able to stop China with military action. It happened and they didn't see it. They can't allow another country to become like China.
Right.
So that's why we have all these sanctions and sanction on the Irans, sanction on the Venezuela, because they can't afford another China. You understand? So, all these countries are under like tremendous sanctions to hold them back. They can't even Cuba. 60-something years now, Cuba under sanctions. You know what I mean? Because these countries have a formula similar to China, who's gonna make the country rise up and be, so their system cannot, even when they cut it off, the country is still operating still, or still, you know what I mean? And they can't do without it to cut it off. Because they should attack China, but the thing is, China is so powerful now, they are like in sync with America. So if China is feeling, America is feeling too. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like a parasitic relationship.
Yeah. China greatest trading partner is America. America greatest trading partner is China, you know. So
yeah, man, that is the point I was gonna raise, because you want to find out, say, a lot of the debts of the countries in the West, you know, China hold them, you know. And if China decides to get rid of a lot of these junk bonds, then it will cause a shock to the economy. So you find, say, everybody now line up. We see the French go link Xi Jinping. We see the British go link Xi Jinping, and EU leaders them are line up to go link them. As a matter of fact, them have a lot of agreements with China, and they were beating countries not to get involved with China and doing the deals or business, because they are saying that China is predatory in its practices, you know. But at the same time, their economy is struggling, so they have to run to China themselves. So we wonder what we are supposed to believe. Who are we supposed to believe, or what are we supposed to believe?
Again,
we believe what we see.
Supplier, you know. Them are the supplier, you know. So them want to have direct access to China, so them can supply to you. Them know why you go cut out them as the big one. Them know
So everyone have to look out for them sovereignty, brother.
Yeah.
Everyone
These
have to look
countries
out
was
for them sovereignty and make Africa great again.
Yeah, ridiculing African countries. Don't go to business. Don't do business with China. Don't do business with China. And
Do it
then
through us.
they are the
Do it
one
through
running
us.
to China now.
Do it through us.
Yeah.
That it was
The good business.
maybe what they want to do. They are the one doing the business with China, and then leave out African country to suffer. To suffer.
I give African countries what they want to give them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, is that people that will cut off their nose to fight their face, you know, because them say them not buy no oil from Russia, but when India buy the oil, them buy it from India.
It can't remember when time India buy it, India put their brand on it, you know, so now it's not
Yeah,
made in Russia
it's
no more.
Indian oil
It's
now.
made in India now.
And them have to pay more for it.
Because it's refined in India.
Well,
That Russian oil again.
like where I say still, like where I say we're gonna keep an eye on this as it unfolds and see what really are going. It's nothing surprising, it's nothing new, it's nothing that we didn't expect, you know, but it's still disheartening because we would imagine that as a people, i.e., human beings, we would have matured beyond this already. But it seems as if like we're regressing because we see Rubio calling for colonization in 2026. Rubio is calling for colonization.
There is no human development roots going on.
Can you
There's
imagine?
no human
With all the
development.
technological development.
Yes,
With all-
technological development,
and I
but not
guess that's
human
why I
development.
guess that's why I think
Yes, I.
AI can be
Yes,
such a
I.
big
We live in a technological world. There's no human development right now on this earth. None. Unfortunately. Yeah. Listen, man, you know, from the position I looking at this, it's always a situation where you look at this injustice happening, right? But there's an injustice because there's imbalance. So that's how it works, you know. Everything is out of balance, out of sync. There's nothing happening naturally. Everything is influenced by something else, right? But the outside source that is the catalyst is also toxic. So because it is toxic, there is no harmony. There's nothing going on that develops us
because people far from reality, you know.
Yeah, man, they're far from reality. Yeah, and everything is reflective of that. You know, so we live right now. We living in an age of sickness. It's real sickness.
You know what I'm saying? Not everything, man, is like a desire for the fake, man.
Yes, I.
The woman, culturally where women are today, like it's so difficult to see a real woman today in a 2026. Like, if you're on a false ear, a false eyelash, if you're on a false eyelash, a false breast, if you're on a false breast, a false butt, if you're on a false butt, a false lip.
But Ras,
you mean a woman in her natural element?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're far removed from that, you know. We so far removed from that, right?
But may I say again, you know, may I just use that as one example.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you go on the man side, I see something again.
Same thing, man.
Same thing. But men love when them woman look like that.
That's why they look like that.
Allegedly.
That's why they look like that.
Remember, you have men, you know, where if them woman ear, burn up, you know, and put chemical in light, you know, them give them money, you know, go and go do your ear, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, this is how they were cultured. They were socialized to that. Yes,
I'm just saying that men love them things, so just the woman want to do it, like the men want her to do it too.
Right.
You understand?
It become a societal norm.
Yeah.
No, I just don't want a fire upon the woman them and left out the man.
No, that's why I say. That's why I say them alone. Because I use that as an example. And I burn a fire, I use them as an example. You see me? But I just say that these are societal norms now because the society bring us to that. 'Cause again, it'll bring us from our real core self. And that's
Yeah.
the point I will make. Because the
Yeah.
reason why the man them see it like that, I call them come far from themselves too. And the woman
But
them feel like so that them come far from themselves.
back to this horrible situation in Iran, right? History have taught us that every time a country is invaded for regime change, that country goes into after the day after that country go into disarray. You know what I mean? Name the country. The Libya, just name the country. They always go into disarray after, right? So based on history, could we say that this is a war to destroy the Persian people, the Iranian people? Because that's what always happened. They want to destroy the country.
Well, the aim of war is always destruction, not true?
No, because remember saying, the pretense is, to liberate the country, and new government, and it's going to be prosperous and everything's going to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's
history doesn't support that.
But as
But history doesn't
always
support that.
repeated.
History
But
doesn't support
and
that.
they know that history doesn't support that. So I'm
Right.
saying, in the back of their mind, it could be to destroy the country. Like that's what they really want to do.
Because ultimately, the next thing when we look at these things too, is that when people go through this level of control or injustice, eventually the people are going to come together, galvanize, and rise up, right? So when you look at a set of people like Persian people, right? Historically, these people were dominant people in the world at one point, control the world at one point.
Yeah.
So to really cripple them is beneficial to them because if you're gonna have people rising up against this tyranny, let's use the word tyranny, you understand? The kind of people that you don't want to rise up against that are people who already have a history of dominance, have a history of okay, this is how you go about doing this because we used to run the place already, so we know how to run the place and we know what to do for galvanize people to do it. So you want to destabilize and cripple those people more. The people them want to really have no direction and no kind of leadership and stuff or system. You're not really business with them so much. You understand? So
Yeah, that's true.
as you say, it could be attempt at destroying these people too, because them know that eventually if these people were to rise up, it go
But then remember too, Ryan, Israel is in the region. Israel is supposed to be the sole power in the region.
Again, right?
This too allows them to achieve that dominance over the whole Arab world as the chosen people, right? The so-called chosen. So because I remember, there's also a religious aspect of everything that's happening here. Israel, yes, based on whatever ideology they follow religiously, is going to be the dominant force in the region, dictating what everybody else does.
Them God give them a right to do all of this.
Yeah, man, all of it is God-given right. So, on behalf of Israel and America, always acting in cohesion, total cohesion. And we see that, right? We see that every time they plan a meeting, they always go to Israel for what Israel has to say as well, concerning what should happen. That's why Israel is also bombing Iran today. So this is all part of the greater plan for the region.
It's a giant effort.
Yeah, man. Listen, we just think about right now. If you think about what happening right here in America and the Christian right and these people right to rule and how they're going to approach election and how it's going to affect the world at large. These are all the things we have to.
That's something we want to talk about.
We have to look at what's happening.
With the midterms coming up. What with the how you think it look towards this current regime's standing for the rest of the thing. Because I don't think the midterms can affect their term, right? The midterms don't affect
Yeah.
their term.
Well. Think about this: if the midterms come and the Democrats take over the House and the Senate, because they have Senate races in the midterms, right? What happens then to
No,
Trump?
Kaiman now we wait for them for do nothing. But do it for his own. With or without their
No, but
approval.
There's
now
no consequences because
now
they
you have a
control it.
real fight. You have a real fight for real impeachment and removal. Because now you have the Democrats back in control. You have a real fight for removal.
Besides what they
Yeah,
have.
so
the real politics start again.
yes, because remember, the rules on voting change in the roots. Now, when you go to the voting poll, have your IDs, They want 2 former IDs and thing in some states now, So imagine if you don't have a passport right now.
So they might try eliminate voters again. So it's the next style again. It's the next style
Yes,
again.
right.
Can you
Voting
imagine?
rules change. You are a registered voter, But now they wanted to bring 2 forms of IDs in certain states routes already. And we got to watch and see if that's going to happen in our region as well. You know how many people don't
They
have
want
passports?
2 bingy and some people don't even have one.
Right. Some people don't have an ID at all.
And remember them do the rezoning again too.
Rezoning, redistricting.
Again.
Redistricting
Kind of
will
structure it in
happen.
a way to give certain people the benefit and the
This
advantage again.
midterm is going to
brother,
mean a lot.
them people know what them are do, brother. Them know what them are
Yes,
do.
sir.
Them not just do it by chance. Them are do it for a while and them know exactly what they're doing and they know what they need to do.
And this is going to determine the future of the world as well, Roots, because once these people stay in power, whatever they implement now,
the sad reality is this, my lord, that
it's going to
that's
continue.
not going to happen. Because guess what? Every empire get to a point where that is it. You get what
Them not even an empire, Roots. Them is not an
now
empire.
come just run the thing forever.
Them can be an empire, Roots.
They're gonna put up their fight for say them want to whole control. Like for example, if we use history again, the Spanish was one of the predominant colonizers, right? And then England take it up and say, yo, we'll take it to them. And them come
in 1600.
Yeah.
And a war.
The Spanish put up a fight. The Spanish put up
a war. A war caused them demise,
Yeah, man.
A war caused them demise, so them have war all over. And them overextend themselves and can't fund it because them source of funding start dry up.
It's always war, man. A war make even the Germans, when they was attempting to take over the world, they fight on all different type of fronts. And the Ottomans are the same thing. They stretch themselves thin. You know what I mean?
Every empire
always war.
Same thing. So
the signs are there.
That's why I'm analyzing it to the drowning man catching a straw. You see,
the signs are there.
It's a drowning empire. I try to regain them footing on a world that already make a shift. The world already make a shift, brother. You understand? And the fact, as Yaga talk about the blocks, these new blocks being created and stuff like that, it shows you that the world make a shift. Because the world go through so much where this regime really destabilized so many places and do so much in our history that people know that they did. You understand? It's not an assumption anymore. You get me?
The world has said it's time to move on from this regime, and no, they're still trying to hold on to power.
Man.
I haven't heard a statement in my research on China. Are trying to make a statement yet?
I haven't seen one. I've seen some.
Because I'm watching what they stand on it, because you know what I mean.
But the next thing with China too, is that them very diplomatic when they make for them statements,
No, I'm just saying this is serious because the thing is, Iran is right next to China, and if America take up you know what I mean, a position in China backyard, because they're trying to surround China.
That wouldn't happen with them. Can tell you that
it's not only geopolitical, because if you remember, China used to buy the oil from Venezuela. And Trump now come take away oil. Trump take away oil and I sell it. See? Him no hide. Him no hide. Him come and say that him a do him a run Venezuela. So I run I know one country him a run Venezuela also. And so China stop getting the oil, so them try to fill that shortfall there in an oil from Iran. So this is a direct attack or indirect attack on China as well.
So may I ask a question?
So we want to see how this is going to play out, because like we are saying, it's not only Iran is under attack. It will affect the entire bloc and the entire alliance.
Yeah.
Within that
But
bloc.
here's the thing with these
Because
alliances,
Iran
right?
is an integral part of the BRICS. Now. Iran is the eye in BRICS, you know.
Yeah, but here's the thing with these alliances, right? These alliances, do they really work? Have we seen these partners really step up in time of need because of their geographical locations or whatever it may be? Are we going to see these alliances really at work today? Like Iran, China have a good relation. We know as a matter of fact, they just sent them weapons, right? A couple of days ago, right? China did, right? So how does China now get involved in something like this because of this alliance that they have with Iran?
There's a loophole.
Two things.
Because it's not a military alliance. It's
That's
an
what I'm gonna say.
economic alliance.
It's an economical
It's
alliance.
an economic alliance. Them not have a requirement or a expectation to be militarily involved.
Right.
It's an economic alliance. So that is one
But
of the major
but
things.
but it end up affecting the economics.
Even
but it's strong
even the other day
China right now. Because if you think about the places they go in and take over, are places that China has been doing business with, right? Have strongholds in those economies. So now they're taking away that economic value from China as well. So how does China react to that? Because now the lion taking a share.
Yeah.
But just a few days ago, they had a training session where the Russian have a frigate and China have a unit where they were carrying out joint drills within the region around Iran. So this is a possibility that Russian assets and China's assets might be in the region. So we can see the chance of this escalating if those assets comes under attack. And I'm wondering if it was a deterrent to send a message to say that, listen, we're on the ground, we're in the region, we're operating, so let diplomacy take place, let negotiations carry on, and we'll try to solve this issue diplomatically. And we've seen where Venezuela, they did not come to the defense of Venezuela, neither Cuba. And this is one of the points I want to make about these alliances, because within some of these alliances, people have their strategic interests. And if their strategic interests are safe and are not interfered with, they will see on those issues that they see eye to eye, and anything that they have the differences on, that is where they have the sticking point, and that is where the tension arises. And sometimes it is not in their best interest to come to the defense of these countries that we see come under several attacks.
Yeah, but at some point, China will have to step in and help some of these alliances, because you can see it's a blatant attack on China. We are trying to cut off the resources to China. Right? So at some point, China will have to react, because if they cut off the oil of Venezuela, they cut off the oil of Iran, they cut off the minerals in Congo. At some point, China will have to react. And I think maybe this is the time to react, because it's so close You know what I mean? And it will be,
So
even
the
though we
next- the
we
next
don't
one
want to
would
see,
be a
we don't
direct
want to see
action.
a prolonged war. Personally, we don't want to see a prolonged war. But it will benefit China for this war to go on like the Ukrainian war. And the reason why the Ukrainian war is going on so long is because of America giving them weapons, supplying them with weapons, right? So I don't know if China have the same idea to supply the Iranians with weapons to make the prolong to cost the America economy.
But they did. A day ago, they had they had a
yeah, but they have to
weapon
keep on
delivery.
giving them bingy like
Well,
like
right,
through.
throughout, sustain the war.
Sustain.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. These alliances come into question now. They must come into question.
Well, this covert action is not gonna be covert no more. Because if right now them they are Iran, the next step must be a direct attack on China. Because them the right at China now.
Oh man, I know most China. Remember, say they might take out the
allies.
The allies, you know. So
but
maybe somewhere like North Korea, or you know what I mean, those countries around.
Right.
They're not gonna attack China like that, man. That's last resort.
But my question is this: what I want to ask, like, may I say now, is what happened in Venezuela an example of colonization or recolonization, as I say?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They say they're running the country.
They're running the country.
They say they're running the country.
So when Rubio go and make a statement that Europe, them badness shaky, him not just talk out time out, him and show them say, for them badness up.
Yeah.
Rubio was ridiculing the European Union because they dropped the ball. Because they give up all their colonies.
No, we know, but may I say, it's not just talk. He must show
No,
them.
I'm saying that's what he's saying. He's saying the reason why they're getting weak is because they give up all their colonies.
Yeah, because
they are not about to give up their colonies. By the way, they are trying to get back their colonies that they give up, are recolonize, or get some more colonies.
But you see how funny it is. They're gonna say that to Europe, right? But yet still, they were colonized by Europeans.
Yeah, they learn from them.
Yeah, because the Europeans are now the debtors.
Not just learn.
They are now the debtors.
So should Europe come and recolonize them?
They are now the debtors.
Remember, you know, America is Europe, baby. So Europeans move from Europe to America.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So it's the same
Europeans. America.
It's not like.
But they colonized America. America was a colony.
I want link.
No, but I'm saying it's the same thing. It's the same place. They captured America, right? And then moved there. Right. So it's the same Europeans here. Only thing that this is like Europe united.
Yeah.
And they now persist to keep on colonizing.
Exactly. America was a colony, brother.
Yeah, Spain
I hear what you're saying.
Spain and France.
Right?
Spain, America was Spain, France, and England.
Yeah. So I'm saying, if you are calling for recolonization, that should apply to you too, because you were a colony. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but it's the same people.
Or they will colonize themselves.
They can't recolonize yourself.
They were a colony.
Europeans are always Europeans.
They were a colony.
That is not going to happen because they are the debtors.
Dada. The Europeans, they moved to America. When America was of the indigenous people and slaves.
Right.
But because Europeans are moving so much and so of them move to America, it's no need for it to be a colony no more because no, this is a European country now. No.
It's a European country.
Yeah. And that's why
now it's a European country.
Because, hey, some people in history, they forget that America, after they get the independence, actually went out and colonized other countries. Or they fight wars with colonizers and and take over the country.
Territories.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Places like the
Well, that's
Philippines,
the time
Puerto
period, really,
Rico,
must.
you know what I mean? Those countries.
Guam.
They colonize Hawaii, they colonize
Guam.
Yeah.
Guam. Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
We understand this enough, what me just have said, because the point I'm gonna make is that they're calling for recolonization, so they must be careful what they're calling for, because they should remember that they were
And
a
that,
colony.
remember,
That's
is
the
the
point I'm
is
making.
the powerful colonizer the country. You say if they be more powerful than me to colonize me. So
Right.
they can call for anything because who's more powerful than them?
And that's what they're saying. They beating their chest right now,
Where,
Dada.
by the way, which country can a European country colonize now?
Chagos Island.
Eh?
Chagos Island.
How with that?
Oh.
Yo, Dada.
Exactly.
Dada.
Exactly.
The geopolitical strategy say away that.
Well, you know, sir, right now, brother, you just have to just go and keep an eye on what go on. We know, say nothing new. This is just the same old strategy again. You know, destabilization of the people, you know, separating the people, trying their best to prevent solidarity, global solidarity. So we understand and we're gonna say, you know, thoughts goes out as well to the people within Iran who are suffering under these military actions right now. You know, we don't want to see any human being suffer, because I think that we are here as a people to coexist and to live with each other and share the resources that the earth provides for all of us to survive. Because a lot of time, because of economic strategy, people look on the resources of the earth not as what the earth provides for us to survive, but what the earth provides for people to become wealthy. But reality is the resources of the earth is what the people need to survive, and that is supposed to be accessible to everyone on the planet. You see, so that is what we stand for and believe in, and we just move with that. So, you know, we're gonna keep our eyes peeled,
Yeah, man.
keep a close watch on what's going on, and bring it to the IDEM as well. Make sure that the IDEM know what's going on as well. You know, big up the IDEM self. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.
And this war is going on is also a call for Africa to unite. Because this is what happens when you are not united. You know what I mean? Africa must unite. Africa must unite in creating wealth for themselves, in unite in creating security for themselves. Unite so, you know what I mean, Africa can rise and be protected, and the people, African people, be protected.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Do give thanks, you know? Yeah, man.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Perfect balance.
Seal it.